Welcome to Moms on Mics. I'm Joanne.
I'm Cash.
And I'm Sophia.
This episode, we are talking about Darius Macdougall, the 6-year-old boy from Lethbridge, Alberta, who went missing on September 21st of this year while on a camping trip in the Crow's Nest Pass area in southwestern Alberta, about 250 miles south of Calgary. Darius was with a group of 6 younger family members, no adults, walking near the Island Lake campground when he separated from the group and was not present when they returned to the camp. Darius was camping with his dad's girlfriend, and her 6-year-old daughter, Kaya, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and cousins. The adults were packing up to leave the campground when Darius went missing. The initial report stated he went for a walk with the other children. However, now it's reported that the kids were playing on the island adjacent to the camp, just across the creek where the adults could still see them. Darius, Kaya, and unnamed cousins were walking or playing together with other kids close by when Darius went missing. When they turned their backs, Darius was gone. Darius's father and grandfather immediately began searching in opposite directions, while his grandmother called 911. Search and rescue teams were on site within 20 minutes.
Darius has autism, and he may not respond to voices or calling out his name in a typical way, making the search more challenging. Although it was first reported that he was nonverbal, his mother, Megan Bernicki, had since said that that is not true. Search and rescue teams were on scene within 20 minutes of the call. The search stretched through the night and into the next morning. Numerous resources were deployed, including RCMP officers, dogs and drones with thermal imaging, over 60 ground searchers, and helicopters from a private company, Ascent, out of its Fernie, BC base, said RCMP. The weather was favorable. However, the terrain was not. It was rugged, thick forests, alpine slopes, multiple waterways and creeks. Searchers report it's very technical terrain. According to an article in the Calgary Herald on day 3, searchers were still optimistic that Darius would be found safely, said Adam Kennedy with Alberta Search and Rescue. There's no talk on the ground of anything other than a positive outcome, he said. They resumed searching the morning of the 23rd, this time with more than 80 trained searchers from Alberta and BC were on the ground, and numerous other resources, including drones, dogs, and helicopters, continued to be used. The search area was expanded as it was possible that Darius could have left the initial search area.
Can you imagine, though, like we're already at 3 days in the wilderness, even for an adult? That's a lot. That's 3 days with no food, no water. Like, it's kind of scary. If they've camped quite a bit, maybe he would know, like, you can eat these berries or not these berries. But for a 6-year-old to know what they can drink, what they can eat, like what they find in the wood, that's terrifying. Not to mention just being alone in the wood. Terrifying.
And then, like, the poison ivy.
Oh,
like all that stuff going around.
It's terrifying to think, like, this poor kid is out there with no help, no nothing. It's not like he had like a backpack with supplies with him. I couldn't imagine.
RCMP Constable Gina Slaney told the media that there is no indication of foul play, something she would repeat numerous times during virtual news conferences. There's no reason at this point to believe anything else happened, said Slaney, but RCMP are looking at every single possibility, she added. Family members want to help and have been given tasks at the scene. The search continued and into day 4 with ground teams supported by an RCMP helicopter and 2 search and rescue dogs from the Canadian Search Dog Association. The public are still being asked to stay out of the area. After consultation with 2 Canadian wilderness survivability physicians, the search effort and tempo had continued, hope and assumption that Darius would be found alive. Search teams expanded into new areas and again covered some previous search areas. The current search radius was at 3 kilometers from the campsite and was gradually widening to 6.6 kilometers. Search teams from Alberta and BC worked alongside 2 RCMP dog teams, 1 helicopter, and multiple drones. Swift water teams were again searching some waterways, some for the 3rd time, and an underwater team was quite certain that Darius was not in there. An analysis of what was believed to be blood revealed was negative.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
he's not there.
right. And we're going to do our best to not be.
We're not making assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I will say, like we said, no assumptions on anybody, but I will say to say there's no reason at this point to believe that there's no foul play. And I'm not talking about the parents or anybody that was there. I'm talking about like other campers or whatever. Like, you've searched for 4 days, there's no sign. How is there not foul play in that? I don't know. Kids don't just disappear.
Right? Like no trace. You know, like his mom said, he was wearing Crocs. If he was dragged away by an animal, there would be Crocs in the area. There would be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The dog be able to find something. And
Yeah.
like poof, gone.
Right? The public was very eager to want to jump in and help the search. I know I myself was like, let's just head out there and go and look. The RCMP took a lot of criticism for that, for not allowing people to come out and help. But I get their reasoning. You know, they have protocols and things they have to follow. And initially, you don't want a bunch of random people trampling all over what could possibly be a crime scene, right? You want to be able to get all the evidence and everything together. And you don't want to risk, like, we found a footprint. Was it one of the 300 volunteers that showed up? Like, we don't know, right? So I understand their hesitation for that. But I do also understand the public, their want to come out and help, right? Like, we're moms, we've got kids. We know if our kids were missing, we would want everybody. We want, like, the whole world to stop and everybody start looking for them, right? Like, that we want to help. We want to try and find this poor kid. But I understand the reasoning behind it. So after another overnight search, day 5 had searchers expanding to trails that Darius could have walked along and continuing to comb previously searched areas, under the assumption that Darius was still alive. The search radius was about 4 kilometers, although some trail searches went out as far as about 8 kilometers, using a favorite song of Darius. So roughly 120 personnel from Alberta and BC were on scene, supported by RCMP, air services, and drones. Drone footage was now being analyzed by software that can detect anomalies missed by the human eye. After another overnight search, about 120 people, including roughly 68 volunteer searchers, were on scene for day 6, as well as other sources such as the drones, the RCMP helicopter. Horses, search and rescue resources were deployed from the Greenview Search and Rescue Team. All available resources from BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan were requested for the weekend. About 7 square kilometers had been searched multiple times. The search at this point was not being scaled back. Tactical support group officers did a shoulder-to-shoulder search, looking for small pieces of evidence that may help. No evidence had been found, no footsteps, no clothing, no droplets.
I know they don't want to scare the public, but like day 6, your chances of you like actually finding him right now in that area is very slim.
Right? I mean, and maybe, not to say that he couldn't have still been alive, but after 6 days, you have to assume that he would have walked further. That would be my criticism, I guess, for the RCMP. And I'll say right now, I have no experience with any of this. So this is just me criticizing from what my brain is thinking with 0 experience. So take that with a grain of salt. But 7 kilometers, that's not very far, really. Over 6 days, that's what, a kilometer and a little bit a day. That's really not that far. Like, a 6-year-old could definitely have walked a lot further than that. So I guess my criticism is, why not expand it sooner?
But then if they're not finding footsteps to begin with, who's to say they walked that far? But then my thing is like, I followed the Gabby Petito case, right?
Yeah.
So what type of island were they playing at, or were they supposed to be at?
It just looked like,
Because I'm not familiar with the area.
yeah, so from the pictures and from like a video that I saw, it like you know how sometimes the ground is dry and a 6-year-old doesn't weigh very much. Maybe he's not making footsteps because there's nothing to make footsteps in. Does that make sense? Like if you were walking on a sidewalk, you're not
I
going to
mean,
see any footprints on the sidewalk. So
and I
if the
mean, if
ground
he's
is
in
solid,
Crocs, if he's
yeah.
in Crocs, it's definitely not making any real marks unless they were brand new. Otherwise, those suckers wear out real fast.
Yeah, like I get maybe they could make like just as you walk on dirt, there could be a little drag or a little something, right? But I mean, he's 6, he's light. He's not very big. Like he was just looks like an average 6-year-old size, right? If not a little slender for 6. So maybe the ground is just too hard and too compact, and maybe there's not wet enough or something for footprints to be being made in the ground. Like, I mean, I'm sure they would have thought about that, but I don't know. I just feel like maybe if he had wandered off, maybe there's a reason they're not finding footprints because of the ground and his weight. I'm sure there's experts out there that have thought of all this.
Highway patrol officers were called in Saturday, helping out at the main intersection along Highway 3, close to the search site and the staging area. Conservation officers, along with fish and wildlife officers, were also on scene Saturday. Search efforts on Saturday consisted of 225 personnel on scene, including 128 trained search and rescue volunteers from Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan, and the ongoing use of dogs, drones with infrared cameras, and a helicopter. The municipality of Crow's Nest Pass opened an information center at Coleman's Crow's Nest Sports Complex for residents wanting to help out with the search effort, either by providing tips or information. By Sunday, September 28th, 7 days after Darius went missing, the probability of survival had dropped drastically to less than 5%, says officials. After an extensive look spanning a week, officials Sunday estimated the probability of Darius being alive at less than 5%. Officials determined the odds based on multiple factors, including what Darius was wearing, his health status, weather conditions, terrain, and statistical survival data. For anyone to survive 7 days alone in the area with no food and no water, no protection against the elements would be extremely difficult, let alone a 6-year-old.
The search, however, did continue and was not scaled back. About 200 personnel, including about 100 search and rescue volunteers, were on scene, as were surface and underwater assets to again examine previously searched areas. However, due to the decreasing odds of survival, ground and air search tactics were changing. It included moving away from the use of infrared technology, a shift based on an assumption that infrared technologies won't be picking up any heat signatures on the ground. Darius's mother, Megan Bernicki, makes a public plea for information on September 29th through a Lethbridge media outlet. As a mother who is very concerned about her child, I am pleading with my entire being. If anyone knows or has seen anything, call the police. Anything from September 21st to now in the Crow's Nest Pass area that could help. She told Bridge City Bernicki also asked people to keep sharing her son's photograph on social media so that his beautiful face is out there. Tuesday, September 30th, 9 days into the search, they now targeted search of higher probability areas previously searched multiple times. On social media, Bernicki said she's never going to stop looking for her son until he's safe. Also, through social media, the family of Darius thanks search and rescue teams, the RCMP, and the municipality of Crow's Nest Pass for their dedication and tireless efforts as well. The family acknowledged the many family members, friends, community members, and organizations who have helped during the search, and those who have made donations.
On Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, 11 days after Darius Macdougall went missing, the search for Darius ends. With all tactics exhausted, police and search and rescue teams are no longer on the ground looking for the 6-year-old boy. During that week and a half, the search efforts covered almost 22 square kilometers and involved more than 400 volunteers from Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan. If Darius is still in the search site, it is our belief that he is no longer alive, said Slaney. Police have no indication of foul play, Slaney said again. Darius was still thought to be in the search area. RCMP are now relying on tips from the public in their investigation. One question that many people have been asking is, why was an Amber Alert not issued? As we learned from Jeffrey Dupree's case, there are certain criteria for an Amber Alert. So the child is under the age of 18, a belief that the child has been abducted, a belief the child is in grave danger, information is available that may help locate the child and or the abductor, example, description of the child, the suspect, or the vehicle driven by the abductor, and that the alert be issued within a reasonable amount of time from the moment of the abduction.
Issuing an Amber Alert can be a very important tool in helping to locate a child and a suspect. It is important to remember, however, that these alerts are not appropriate in every circumstance, and their continued effectiveness depends on ensuring they are only used in cases that meet the criteria outlined above, and where time is of the essence. That being said, I would argue that this would have fallen under the idea that Darius could have been in grave danger given the terrain of the area, the possibility of an animal attack, and the lack of evidence at the scene also could lead to the possibility of an abduction. The police, however, did not feel it fit the criteria, and that decision has caused some scrutiny from the public.
A lot of people have been pushing on this Amber Alert. Okay, so maybe the police didn't think that Darius has been abducted, but what does it hurt put the Amber Alert out there?
But it says here, a belief that the child is in grave danger. When a 6-year-old child is in the middle of the forest, as far as I'm concerned,
Right?
That's grave danger.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, because here I am trying to keep myself together and not say, but no shit, like, he's in grave danger. Like, he's alone. Like, it's been 11 days. He's alone in the forest. It's not like he can, be scaling these cliffs or whatever, trying to get out. Like, there's no way. He's 6 years old. He's all by himself. He's terrified. He's in grave danger. He meets the criteria. He's under the age of 18 and he's believed to be in grave danger. That's 2 criterias out of your list that they have to meet. What else do you need?
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely some failures. And I mean, maybe later the police will be able to give their reasoning for why they made the choices they made. I don't know. They didn't necessarily handle this great, I don't think. I think, honestly, they don't handle missing children cases great. Again, I'm not an expert. I am not a police officer. I've never dealt with anything like this, but going back to the Jeffrey Dupre case, like, they should have shut the highway down. I guess they couldn't in that one because there was the wildfire, but they didn't search any vehicles. They couldn't have said, okay, like, everybody is evacuating to this point where it's safe. Let's look at the vehicles at that point, right? It seems like there could have so much more could have been done, and I feel the same in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
When this episode comes out, it will have been 2 months since Darius went missing. There have been volunteers searching almost continuously. There's Facebook groups dedicated to those volunteer searches, TikTokers that have been trying to get the word out there, and numerous psychic weighing in on the case, as often happens with missing people cases, especially missing children. But unfortunately, there has been nothing found. Not one single piece of evidence has been discovered in the area, which leads to the question, was Darius taken from the campsite? Or, one theory that is popular, was he even there in the first place?
As far as never being there in the first place, I find that hard to believe. There were 20 to 25 adults at the campsite and 8 children, including Darius. Why would they all lie? And even if they did all lie initially, one of them, and definitely one of the kids, would mess up at some point. That's far too complicated and messy to get that many people to lie about something like this. There was also a theory that one of the adults of the group, it's usually suggested the dad took him away from the group and killed him and disposed of his body. Well, that sounds like it could be possible, The fact is, none of the other members saw them with bloody clothes or even reported them wandering off alone at any point. Which again, why would they lie about that? And there's too many of them to keep a lie straight. Not to mention the fact that zero evidence has been found. No blood, no clothing, no body. Another theory, and frankly the more likely scenario, is that he wandered off and was picked up and taken out of the area by someone not in the camping group. The family claims the campground and highway were not locked down properly during critical hours after Darius went missing. As we said earlier, no Amber Alert was made. So if someone did take him away from the area, they had plenty of time to put significant distance between them and the search. Highway footage of the nearby Highway 3 intersection was collected and reviewed, and trail cameras in the area have been reviewed or requested from owners. Drivers have been asked to share September 21st dash cam footage with our CMP.
Yeah, see, this is kind of the theory that I think is probably more likely. If he was in the area, how do you get 20 to 25 people to lie for you about killing a child?
It gets too messy.
That would mean that those 20 to 25 adults also wanted the child dead, right? For them to, because I don't care who it is. If you killed a child, especially like a family member of mine, I'm not lying for you.
Yeah.
You're a sick fuck and you need to be in jail. I'm not going to keep that for you. So I do find that hard to believe that a family member did it and then got all these people to lie and keep the lie straight. And even the fact, like, to lie and say, yeah, he was there when he wasn't. Like, even that simple of a lie. Like, I can't see that.
Well, and you would think that if he made it to the road, if someone picked him up, they would turn him in. So obviously no one picked him up to turn him in.
I mean, there is the possibility that he made it to the road and just so happened to be the person that picked him up is some sick fuck.
Well, that's what I mean. Though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a normal person that would be like, hey, let's go find your parents because you're a 6-year-old on the side of a highway.
Exactly.
So clearly it was someone that would have either knew him and wanted him for some reason or...
Just a warning for everybody, and I do not believe in trigger warnings, but I will make an exception. This next part is pretty gruesome and can be quite graphic. So anyone squeamish, you're going to want to skip for a bit. So a more gruesome theory is an animal attack. Crow's Nest Pass is home to a diverse range of animals, including large mammals like grizzlies and black bears, wolves, cougars, elks, bighorn sheep. Common smaller animals include deer, coyotes, badgers, beavers. Reports actually confirm that a grizzly bear and 2 cubs were involved in a charge near Window Mountain Lake in Crow's Nest Pass on or before September 13th, 2025. So Window Mountain Lake is approximately 13 to 15 kilometers, 8 to 9 miles for all our American listeners. So it's southwest of the search area. It's definitely possible that the grizzly bears could have traveled the 13 to 15 kilometers in the 8 days between the charge incident and the day that Darius went missing. Grizzlies are known to be active and foraging in the Crow's Nest Pass area, especially in the fall as they prepare for hibernation. Every year, the Crow's Nest Pass sees an average of 3 to 5 grizzlies entering the community between spring and fall. The Crow's Nest Pass is a natural habitat and travel corridor for the grizzlies. Grizzly bears often move or cache their food, particularly large animal carcasses. Caching is a deliberate strategy for securing a meal that is too large to eat in one sitting. They do this by covering it with dirt, grass, leaves, snow, or other debris. A grizzly bear attacking and killing a 6-year-old child is possible, but extremely rare. It would depend heavily on the situation. It is possible to imagine that Darius came across the cubs, was curious, and tragedy struck when the mama bear came on the scene. Mother grizzlies are highly protective. If a person or small child came too close to her cubs, she might charge or attack to defend them. However, these attacks are usually defensive. The bear strikes, sometimes kills, and then leaves once the perceived threat is gone. Predatory attacks, where the bear intends to eat a person, are much less common, especially among grizzlies. Those usually involve adult male bears, but not mothers with cubs. A mother grizzly with cubs would almost never carry off a child to eat them if she attacked. It would likely happen right there. Although, depending on how far away Darius had made it from the campsite, it's possible that no remains were found before being discovered and consumed by other animals. So while grizzly attacks are rare, they do happen. On May 25th, 2021, a 68-year-old woman was killed by a grizzly bear near Walta Valley, Alberta. The individual had gone for a walk on their property and was found deceased on one of the trails. Alberta Fish and Wildlife said in a written statement the individual's name was not released. Despite finding her body partially buried, which initially led officials to believe the attack was predatory, they concluded that the woman's death was the result of a defensive bear attack.
Well, if it's a bear attack, there would be some sort of, like, you would know.
Well,
And
it depends
like
how...
they're mounting though, wouldn't you? Like when they're burying it and
So basically, the theory would be that the bear picked him up and took him out of the area. Now, who's to say how far out of the area? Like, they only did a 7-kilometer search area. What if he had wandered away 10 kilometers? What if he was 15 kilometers out of the area and a bear picked him up? They don't know that because they didn't expand the search area that far, right? If this bear did pick him up, there possibly could be evidence. However, if it was like a big grizzly, like a dad grizzly bear or a male grizzly bear, I should say, picked him up and carried him away, there might not be any evidence. Now, there should be some remains. The bigger animals, they'll eat quite a bit of the body. And then the smaller scavengers will come when the body has been left, like the parts. This is so graphic, sorry, but when the parts are left around, the smaller scavengers will come and feed off those parts. And we're talking big, and the biggest one animal being the grizzly bear, going all the way down to insects. It's not out of the realm of possibility that the majority of the remains would be gone. And especially after this long, there's been rain, there's been snow, any fluids left in the area would be washed away.
Yeah.
If this is the scenario that happened, you may never know, unfortunately. The one possibility is that there is some clothing pieces found in bear scat, so like bear poop, because I don't think the bear digestive system could fully digest cotton or whatever. The Crocs, there's going to be pieces of Crocs that were non-digestible somewhere. It's just where, who knows? Like, we're talking, you're out in this huge mass of land. And if this is the scenario, the multitude of animals have scattered this over how many kilometers, unfortunately.
But correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't Alberta follow their bears? Someone told
I
me that
believe
they follow
so.
them.
They do. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Couldn't they really just like see
I mean, it's not
kind of like an idea? I'm not saying you could pinpoint and be like, hey, that's the bear that did it. But like, can't they get an idea of bears in the area that would have been?
Mm-hmm.
they probably could, but then you're also like, depending on, okay, so there's 3 to 5 grizzly bears in the area. That doesn't account for black bears. That doesn't account for all the other animals that could have helped in this
Animal attack. That's my personal opinion.
I don't think it is either. I'm just saying, if this scenario was the case, this is like...
I don't like that scenario. Actually, I don't like any scenario, but I definitely don't like that scenario.
No, I don't like the scenario. I don't believe this is a scenario that happened. These are just the facts of if the scenario happened. As awful and as gruesome as it is, until there's evidence of a definitive scenario that happened, you have to look at all angles. And unfortunately, the type of wildlife in the area, this is unfortunately a possibility.
I don't like it breaks my mama's heart.
It does. It's heartbreaking.
Because a 6-year-old, right? And he is autistic. So he could
Yeah.
easily be like, look, teddy bear, let me touch.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I saw a bear cub, I'm gonna want to touch it. This is how dumb and how wilderness not savvy I am. So we went hiking, my husband and I, and at the time our two little Yorkies. And we went to this like lake that's like on a mountain. I wish I could remember where it was, but it's not a very big lake at all. Like it's just a small lake on a mountain. And there's a whole bunch of people sitting around having a picnic and stuff. And we sat down, we had a picnic, and I had this like nice fancy camera. And all of a sudden, my husband goes, "There's a fucking bear across the lake. We need to pack our shit." And as he's trying to pack up his pack, I'm unpacking mine to get my camera out, attaching the lens to the camera, fiddling with all the buttons. And he looks at me and he's, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm taking a picture of the bear. It's a grizzly bear. It's got a bump. I want to take a picture." He's like, "We have bait. Two little yappy bait things with us attached to leashes." He's like, "Pack that shit back up." I'm like, "It's across the lake." He's like, "Bears can swim." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that." He's like, "Pack it up." And he's getting so mad at me. And there was people like doing the same thing as me, and also people packing their shit up and getting the fuck out of there. And I mean, I know bears are bad. Oh, my husband was so mad at me. He's like, "You're gonna get us killed." He's like, "You would touch a bear, wouldn't you?" I'm like, I mean, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't. So if I, as a grown-up, supposedly, like, of course a 6-year-old, you see two little cute bear cubs, how are you not gonna want to pet them or play with them, right? Like,
God, Joy. I know who to not go hiking with.
Oh yeah, I love hiking. But yeah, I mean,
You're gonna get us.
Oh yeah, like
You would be by yourself with those bears.
right? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make light of the situation. This is just an awful scenario we're covering here. So this is me trying to like for my own sanity, so I'm not a total mess as we record this. This is me trying to make it a little bit better, but I can definitely see how the scenario could happen. I'm not saying it did, and I definitely don't want this to be the scenario at all.
Unlike bears, a cougar, mountain lion could potentially take a 6-year-old child and carry them away because that behavior fits more closely with how cougars hunt. Cougars are ambush predators. They stalk quietly and attack by surprise, aiming for the neck or head. Children are the most common victims of cougar attacks, simply because they're small and move unpredictably, more like natural prey such as deer. If a cougar attacked a 6-year-old, it could absolutely drag or carry the child away to the secluded spot to feed. That has happened in rare documented cases. Female cougars with kittens don't typically attack humans unless cornered or starving. But any adult cougar might see a lone child as potentially prey under the wrong circumstances, especially if it's used to humans or lack natural food sources. Either scenario, a grizzly or a cougar are possible. The question remains, why did the dogs only pick up Darius' scent at the campsite?
Yeah, so that's the glaring elephant in the room, right? Like, but there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen to make that true, right? And there's no evidence that he left the area that far. Sure, there's no evidence that he didn't, but the dogs are only picking up scent at the campsite. So I feel like that it makes the scenario not very likely.
Plausible?
Yeah, it's a possible scenario, but is it plausible? Is it likely? I'm gonna say no, but it is one of the main theories that they were looking at. Now, I will say cougars are fucking terrifying, man. When I was training, I was running in Fish Creek Park by myself. And I always have just like one headphone in, like I keep the other ear open. And I kept hearing this weird, almost like a bird sound. Now, I knew what the sound was because we'd had a terrifying experience when we were hiking one time where we saw a cougar, but this time I'm running by myself in Fish Creek Park and hearing this noise. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I know what that noise is. And I'm like, I don't see anything, which is, I don't know if that's better or worse. So I'm like trying to make noise. I'm trying to sing along with the song. And there's like nobody in sight on either direction of the trail. And I'm like, fuck, because there's trees and there's places for this cougar to be, right? And I'm not going to see it coming. I'm the size of an average 12-year-old. So me running by myself I'm prey. And so I'm like terrified. And so I'm like, do I call somebody? They're not going to get here in time. And I'm making noise and I can hear noise in the trees. So I pick up my pace. Not that I think I can outrun a cougar. I'm not an idiot, but I was like, what else do you do? I'm terrified. So I pick up my pace and I'm running as fast as I can. And I finally catch up with this group of guys that are running. And I almost like run right into them and they're like, yeah, right. I'm like, no, honestly, I think there's a cougar. And they're like, what? And I'm like, just stop and listen. They stopped and they could hear it. And they're like, we just got to keep moving. We're going to be loud and we're going to keep moving. You can run with us. And I was like, okay, thank you. So I ran ahead of them. Just slightly, not far enough that I would like be prey once again, but far enough that if it came, it could eat them while I was getting the fuck out of there. And we were so deep in Fish Creek, it was absolutely terrifying. And I get home and I tell my husband, he's like, "Why were you in the creek? There's a cougar that was spotted in Fish Creek." I'm like, well, I don't know, but it was absolutely terrifying. They're awful and terrifying.
What are those cats called?
Like bobcats?
Yeah. We had one of those literally at the corner, and my daughter at the time, she was little, but she's like, "Oh, look, mommy, kitty." And I looked at the tail and I'm like, "Oh, it's not a kitty."
Right?
There.
Yeah, we have one that's in Chaparral and it has its own Facebook page because it's seen quite often. They're not very big. They're nowhere near the size of a cougar, but they're still quite scary and they will attack if they are hungry enough.
This one was a baby one. That's why she's like, "Oh, look, kitty." And I'm like staring at it. And then I was like looking at the tail. I'm like, that doesn't look like a normal tail. So let's not go and see it.
Right?
Tell you about the bobcat on my playground?
No.
I didn't. Where my husband was mowing the lawn. And my son was like, "Mom, you got to come out and see this really big cat." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." I know he's like obsessed with cats. He loves cats. And I'm like, "No, go see the big cat outside." And then he's like, "Okay." So then he goes away for a bit and then he comes back. He's like, "You really should come see this cat. It's huge." And I'm like annoyed, right? I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, I don't want to go look at a cat outside. So anyways, I end up going and looking and he's laying down on my playground.
God.
Watching my husband mow the lawn. Oh my God, I'm like, "Randy," I'm like, "Look," I'm like, "it's a bobcat." And he stopped and he looked, he was like, "Holy crap." And I'm just happy my dogs weren't outside, right? Chilling on our playground, watching him mow the lawn. And then he just got up and nonchalantly walked away.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my crazy. But they're scared of us than we are of them, I think. Anyway.
I think so, yeah.
After small animals. Tracking dogs can often still pick up a child's scent even if the child was carried away by an animal, but how strong and how far the scent trail goes depends on several factors. The scent doesn't just come from footprints. Dogs track skin cells, sweat, and scent molecules that drift into the air and settle on vegetation, dirt, and nearby surfaces. So even if the child was lifted or carried, the scent trail might continue faintly through the air or along the path where the animal moved. If the animal drags or carries the child close to the ground, for example, if a cougar dragged the child, there would still be contact with the ground, leaving a continuous scent trail that tracking dogs can follow quite well, along with blood scent if present. If the animal carried the child off the ground, the trail could become spotty or broken. The dog might lose scent temporarily until the animal set the child down or passed through an area where scent particles were dropped, like brushing against bushes. Skilled handlers often notice these gaps and can work around them. Conditions matter. Heat, humidity, wind, and terrain all affect scent. Cool, damp air preserves scent well. Hot, dry, or windy conditions can scatter or destroy scent molecules faster. The temperature in the Crow's Nest Pass on September 21st was 21 degrees. Once the animal stops, or if the animal hid or cached the child's body, the scent in that area would usually be very strong, allowing dogs to locate it even if the initial trail was weak. So the fact that the dogs didn't pick up a scent anywhere else doesn't necessarily rule out the theory, but it will be difficult theory to prove unless any remains were discovered. The family requested privacy to safeguard themselves and the other young children involved after suspicion and accusations were directed towards them on social media. And just like in the Jeffrey Dupree case, people have accused the parents of having something to do with Darius's disappearance, and understandably so. Statistics show that the majority of child murderers are committed by the parents and more commonly the father. However, statistically, when it comes to missing children cases, parent abduction only accounts for 21%. This case, being so strange and the lack of evidence, makes it even more understandable why people point to the father.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that the reason we mentioned the animal scenario was because it has been brought up quite often. And I wanted to lay the facts out there. My intentions was not to be cruel or cause any upset or harm or anything like that. It was basically, this is one of the theories that has been laid out there. And so these are the facts that go along with that. But it is weird. It is strange. There's no evidence, no nothing. Right? So sadly, another tragedy hit the family on October 10th when Darius's father's girlfriend, Buffy's daughter Kaya, also 6, died in a separate incident. Kaya was remembered by her family as a bright and loving child who will be deeply missed and forever remembered with love. Police have confirmed that the death of Darius Macdougall's sister, Kaya, was a separate tragic event and is not considered criminal. The death was reportedly due to anaphylactic shock. Instead of the mother being focused on grieving a tragic loss, the community has chosen to attack her. This was an unexpected, horrible tragedy for a family already feeling broken from Darius's disappearance. The family thanked staff at Pincher Creek Hospital, STARS, and Alberta Children's Hospital and will not be commenting further on Kaya's death.
It just reminds me of like the Gabby Petito, right? They could not find that guy for the life of them, and they were in his parents' backyard. They were everywhere. And like, yeah, it's different because he's an adult versus a child, but
there's so many kids. Like, I always think like the Madeleine McCann story, right?
That one too,
like
yeah.
Kids that just vanish. Like, in all honesty, like it feels like he just vanished. Like for it to be so quickly, you know. So the other kids, they were playing, they turned their back and then turned back around and he's just gone. Nobody saw him. Nobody, like, I don't
But that's where I'm confused in the same hand too, because if they were wandering around, why is his scent only at the campsite?
Exactly. And the story did change. Right? The story did change. Initially, they had gone off for a walk and then they returned without him. And I think in that scenario, that made sense. An animal situation could have made sense in there because they'd gone off for a walk and he had been straggling behind the group, and that's a possibility, right? But there was no scent anywhere else except in the campground. As far as I can see from the reports from like the RCMP, the dogs only picked up the scent in the campground, not in the little lake that they were playing, or like across the lake, sorry, on the little island that they were playing on.
So it just looks like he never actually left the campsite.
Yeah. And that's also kind of strange because if you're camping for a few days, do you ever just stay on the campsite? There's one area that there's like a little creek or like a river, whatever, and then you kind of go across that onto this like little island. And that's where they said the kids were playing. But there was trails and stuff from the looks of like the maps. So at one point they said the kids went off on a walk, right? And then that's how he didn't come back. So they obviously were walking around. And then when they said that they were on the little island area, that's still not directly in the campsite. So the dad and the other people that were camping said that he was off on there, like over on those other areas, but there was no scent there.
That's what I mean. That's where it's weird, where it doesn't fit, because why would the scent be in one area but nowhere else?
Yeah, it's really confusing why there is no more scent, or like no scent other than that one small area. And if you've got a group of, so 20, they say 20 to 25 adults, but that many people in one small area, plus the 6 or 7 kids, you're all going to stay in that one area. the whole time, that just seems, I don't know, it just seems like a lot in a small area, right? I'd like be curious to know how far away the highway actually is. Could he have got to the highway?
Surprised he didn't bring up a map for us.
Um,
This boy.
the only reason I didn't is because I can't read maps. I don't know how to read them.
See a picture. This is where
So the terrain, like the maps with the terrain, it's like bumpy. And so I'm like, that looks like difficult terrain. I don't fucking know. I'm not good with maps. I'm not good with that shit. It's something's off. Something seems strange. Maybe I listen to too much true crime, but something's not adding up.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't sound. There's something missing.
Yeah. And I'm not accusing anybody. I'm not accusing people. I'm not accusing animals.
No, there's just a missing piece.
It doesn't add up. And as a parent, if my 6-year-old child had gone missing, I don't know if my story would, like, even telling the truth, I don't know if my truthful story would sound the same when I said it different. You're not worried about, like, especially if you have done nothing wrong, you're not worried about whether you sound innocent or guilty or anything like that. You're just trying to remember, and maybe you don't remember it correctly because your fucking 6-year-old has gone missing, right? Like, you're terrified, you're panicked, every worst case scenario is running through your head, and meanwhile people are asking, well, what was he wearing? If your details sound a little fuzzy or a little like you said this one time but then the next time you said that, it's because you don't remember. Like, you're trying to remember, but you're panicked, you're stressed, you're freaking out, and you're selling details that maybe are not correct, and then you remember, oh, that wasn't now, that was like a little bit before or whatever. So I think it's not necessarily fair to judge the descriptions and the statements. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, the statements from especially the dad and the dad's girlfriend. I don't think it's necessarily fair to judge them if they're not 100% accurate at the time that he went missing. I think anybody would have trouble relaying exactly, what happened. But there's definitely something. Someone's missing something. Hopefully he's found soon. I mean, the weather is going to be turning here pretty quick, so hopefully.
I think he was kidnapped. That's what
By like a stranger abduction kind of thing?
I think he was kidnapped by a stranger. I think somebody was probably camping in the same area and lured him away.
Yeah.
And
that's a good point, actually. But
that's what I think.
But why no scent? Why are the dogs not picking? Every scenario we can come up with, there's no scent.
He's been lured away. He's there. It's too far, right? Like,
but wouldn't the dog if the dogs only picked up in this area around the campsite, as soon as he left that campsite, like take 2 steps off, they should have been able to go like, oh,
somebody probably came, scooped him
picked him up, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think somebody lured him away. I think he was kidnapped. I really, really do. And I said it from day one. Even his mom went on the news not long ago, and she said the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody took him. I believe that. So.
My first instinct was that an animal got him, in all honesty. When the story was that they went for the walk, like just the kids went for a walk, and then the kids all returned, but except him. And my only thought for that being the case was because they were on a wooded path. Right? So on like this little path within the woods. So I was like, well, if he was behind, an animal could easily have scooped him up and taken him off. So that was my initial thought the whole time until they said, well, no, they were playing on this little island. I'm like, still possible. It's horrendous, but I'm like,
I don't think it was an animal.
I mean, I hope it wasn't. I'm more leaning towards an abduction, but when they were like, he only had scent around here, I'm like, well, it's possibly an animal picked him up and carried him off. That seemed really logical. When you say that, like, someone camping in the area.
Well, was it Crownland?
Fuck, now I'm second guessing. I think it was Crownland, but I think there were other people camping there. Like, it was like a popular part of Crownland.
Right. So many people come and go.
Yeah.
Right. You have day visitors, you have campers, you have so many people come and go. I remember when we Crownland camped, right? We didn't even have anybody camping anywhere near us.
Yeah.
Everybody was far away, right? So that's why you crown line camp. So you're not
Yeah.
next door to strangers. But yeah, I don't know. I think he was kidnapped.
I think they definitely should have stopped and questioned the other campers in the area, like, and searched their like, whether you have a search warrant or not, it's a fucking 6-year-old child that's missing.
Maybe
I'm
they
sorry, but no, they didn't.
Oh, you know why? You know what? Because if it happened on a weekend or on a Sunday, everybody went home. Online camping, you're not registered anything, so people just pack up and leave. There's no way
Yeah.
to find them, right?
But if they were, I just meant like if they were still there when the police got there, then they didn't question them then. I'm not sure if they were still there, but if they were, I just remember the mom, I think, said they didn't even question the people that were camping in the area. That's, I think, a big fuck up on the police's fault. And they should have like stopped traffic on the highway. Like if they arrived on scene in 20 minutes, they couldn't have had one cop just like hold up. Like you know it's a 6-year-old child missing. Just I don't know, close the highway, something like
If it's Crown Land too, that makes sense of why you have 20 to 25 people on a campsite.
yeah, because I guess they would all bring their own trailers and stuff. But
Well, and it could be a pretty big campsite.
yeah,
Not like when you book it, where you only get like a small little slot.
right. I hope they find him.
Me too, but I don't feel good about it.
No, no, I don't. I don't know.
See, the thing that bugs me is that they only have his scent in one area.
Yeah,
And if they've spent the weekend there, it should be in more than one area.
right.
If they're going for walks, doing things, even if they're going from like one camper to the other, depending on how they
I mean,
place.
it depends, I guess, what they mean by when they say their campsite, like whether they mean like a massive area around multiple trailers or whatever, like if that's what they're referring to. But even still, there's no way I would have camped, especially in Crownland, because there is places to go and explore. And you've got 7 kids with you. You never took a walk, not once. You never like. How do you like the kids never went for a walk?
Like even she said when she was on Crownland, she would take dirt bikes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You would still be leaving a scent.
Right? And I don't think they had, well, they never clarified whether they had dirt bikes or quads or anything with them. But yeah, even that, you're still leaving the campsite and you're still gonna have scent somewhere.
So that's what makes me think that someone took him, and I feel like it'd be someone that was in the group. That's way too many people. The adults outrun the kids. The smell does not make sense.
Yeah.
They should pick up on their smell. If they're playing across that way, they should pick up their smell over there. Especially if they did it that day, it should still be there.
Yeah.
So, and if it was elements and it was nice out, it should still be there.
That's the thing. There was no real wind. Like, that's why I checked the weather. Like, there was no real wind. It wasn't humid, so it wasn't like any samples would have been like compromised or anything because like humidity and like blood droplets humidity can like affect them, right? So it kind of there was no wind, no humidity, no nothing. So weather would not have fucked with very much, if that makes sense.
And I know, like you say, he's a small child and giving him the benefit of the doubt, but I still think there'd be some sort of footprints if they went on a walk.
Yeah.
Whether it was his or the other kids' footprints. So
And I guess if it was an animal, they would have found animal prints.
Yeah.
Like if
They
an
would have
animal had
found
picked him up and
something.
carried him away. Like the animal scenario would have made sense if they'd have had his scent going for like further off.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he disappears from further off. That could have made sense. It's so hard to say. Without seeing the area, without like understanding the terrain and the condition, like it's just speculation, right?
Well, I feel they are going to find his remains, just like the Gabby Petito case. They're going to find it, but I have a feeling it's in their circle.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the dad, but I think it's in their circle.
I guess the only reason I would circle back to the dad, like, what are the fucking odds that the dad's kid goes missing and then it was like a week later, right? That the dad's girlfriend kid.
It does,
The
but then
fucking odds of that, right? Like,
without knowing the detail though, she could have just also eaten something that they never knew she was allergic to.
for sure. If
Because like my friend never knew he was allergic to pistachios until he ate it and like half his face swelled right out.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you learn you're allergic to something, right? You have to ingest
Exactly.
it first.
So it could be very well
But
just that, but they don't want to.
apparently they knew she had allergies.
The
I,
only thing though is if it was the dad, usually if it's the dad, they don't call right away when they're missing.
but he's there with 20 to 25 other people. They're going to be like, where the fuck's Darius? So he's going to have to call and act like,
But then you say like he was packing up the stuff too. So who's to say the other people are even around anymore anyways?
no, they were still there packing up.
They all were packing up?
They did, it's not clear if they all were still there, but like the grandpa was, the grandma was, and some of the other adults were.
See, so
And then
they
all the kids were still there because the police questioned all of the kids. I'm pretty sure they were all still there, or at least the vast majority of them were.
it was like then that could work too. Yeah, it's just weird. Like I don't
And
know.
I think that the cops are saying that it's not suspicious or they don't suspect foul play, but I call bullshit on that because they're not going to say we suspect something, right? They're going to keep that information to themselves. I think the reason that the search grid was so small was because they were looking for his remains. Like, I think that, like, they did have the infrared cameras and stuff out for a while, but I think that was in case he was still alive. But it was like endless amount, like, like you think of like Kananaskis type area, right? You're only gonna look in 7 kilometers.
But do you know why I think they only looked in 7 kilometers? Because the scent trail didn't go very far.
But as a cop, you've got to have critical thinking, right? So you're thinking, okay, the scent trail didn't go so far. That means he hasn't left the area, which means if he is out of the area, he was taken out of the area. Like they have to have suspicion.
No, but that's what I mean, like going out above, right?
Yeah,
If they're thinking about it, well, the scent trail only ends here. So you wouldn't really technically think of going 20.
but that's what I mean. That's why I think they do think it's something. They do think foul play, or they do
Yeah.
think because otherwise, if they didn't, then they would have gone out of the area regardless of the scent. Maybe the dogs aren't accurate, right? Like we don't. Our dogs are like scent dogs 100% accurate 100% of the time. We don't know that, right? So maybe
Yeah,
maybe
and did
he
you
did.
have a new dog? Did you have the older dog?
Exactly. If I was in charge of that, I mean, this is to say, I say with zero experience other than listening to true crime podcasts, right? But if I was in charge of a search area in the wilderness, I'm not going to stick to 7 kilometers. Not when it's a 6-year-old child that is missing. If you're sticking within that small of a frame, it's because you don't think he left that area.
Yeah.
And I think for more than just the lack of scent, because I don't think I would put my whole investigation on the scent. Why not take the dogs out of the area, see if you pick up the scent again? I don't know. I think the
And
cops well know that something else happened, and they're just not saying anything because they don't want to hinder their
well,
investigation.
you've seen it before though. You see it where they say that they don't suspect foul play as of right now,
Yeah,
but you say later that they changed their tune. But
yeah,
like I've always been into like that CSI, right? And I took like the correctional intervention in that, and it's that stuff, right? It doesn't make sense. So you're saying that the scent doesn't go beyond the thing. You're saying that you're not finding footprints of him. Now, yes, he is small and he could be whatever. So yeah, it could be very well, but majority of the time you'd have some sort of
yeah.
footprint. Even if it's just like an outline of like
Or
his
like when your feet drag, kids kind of like shuffle walk, right? So
so
they're,
there so there's all these things that, and then one story you're saying they went for a walk, but then one story you're going there. So there's already like a tiptoe in the story. So you're
yeah,
like, it just doesn't all add up.
yeah,
Like there's
yeah.
a lot missing, and I think that's where the cops are screwing up because they're all releasing all this stuff that doesn't make sense.
And maybe they're doing that because when cops release information to the media, they leave out things that
Right.
only the person you like, let's say murdered, only the murderer would know. And they leave that out so when they question suspects, if the suspect says that, right, then they know, well, you didn't hear that in the media. So that's how
Right.
we know that you just put yourself on the scene, basically, right? So maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe because they're not what they have said, like the information they've released is fuck all, right? Like he was last seen in this area. They don't believe he left the area. They don't believe there was foul play. According to the police, the only scenario that makes sense is the animal scenario. According to, not that the police have said that, but due to everything they have said, the only thing is an animal picked him up, took him off, and has eaten him. Because they're saying, we don't think he left the area. We don't believe it was foul play. He just basically vanished, is all they're really saying by lack of saying anything else, right? So it's an animal took him away from that information that we have. Like they have kept saying, we don't think he left the area. Then where the fuck is he? And if he didn't leave the area, why the fuck isn't your search area further? So I take from that is they think an animal ate him or he was murdered and he's buried in the area. Those are your two solutions that you're giving with the information you're giving out, right? So either they're doing that because they have nothing or they're doing that because they know something, but they don't want to give out that information so that the killer or abductor or whatever can put himself at the scene.
Yeah, see, just from the information they have there, I see it as it's someone in the circle. They're all packing up. They're all busy trying to get ready to go. And they just swiped him right off the campsite and gone.
Yeah.
And then his body was probably somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like that one, it wasn't a kid, but like that one case, they found her body in a ditch somewhere. She was North Calgary, I think. Some rural
Oh,
road.
yeah.
Her
Yeah.
body was just found in a ditch. That's what I think his is gonna do.
Yeah. But I mean, really, like, fucking anywhere. Like, when you think of, like, in the mountains, fuck, like, anywhere. Unless they leave him on the side of a hiking trail or, like, a well-known trail, you can fucking wander off anywhere and put the body anywhere. You're never gonna find him. Ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Like, sadly, as sad as it is, and you don't want to hope it, I'm pretty sure he's gone.
Yeah.
For one way or another. Like, this is not, I think this was a murder, not a just kidnapped, I'm taking your child.
Yeah. Anyone who had contact with Darius is asked to call Crow's Nest Pass RCMP at 403-562-2866. Anonymous tips are accepted through Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477, online at p3tips.com or the P3 Tips mobile app. The non-emergency line for any Alberta RCMP jurisdiction can be reached at 310 RCMP. And there's a Facebook group. It is Bring Darius Home, I believe, on Facebook. They've got a lot of people on there that they go out searching. There's one guy, I want to say his name is Ryan. I'm sorry if I am incorrect there. He lives in the area. He knows the area very, very well. And he's been out searching very often. Everyone's doing everything they can. Hopefully something is found. Hopefully he is found. So that's it for Moms on Mics this week.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Moms on Mics Podcast, on TikTok at Moms on Mics, and join our Facebook group, Moms on Mics.
If anyone has any topics you would like us to cover, or if you have any questions or suggestions, you can email us at momsonmics@gmail.com or submit through our website, momsonmics.com.
We would also appreciate it if you could rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening on. It really helps the podcast move up on their charts so it gets more exposure. I hope you join us again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.